Hello there.
Welcome back, my friend.
Hello, what have we here?
Jedi, we've been expecting you.
You know I could count on you.
Hello.
Welcome to the rebellion. What fun!
What is up, everyone? Hybrid Toy Reviews here, bringing you my weekly Star Wars The Black Series figure ranking. And this week, we are going to be ranking all 21 unique figures from Star Wars The Last Jedi, a movie I like a good deal. Now, don't go running to the comments to go, I don't like The Last Jedi, I don't like The Last Jedi. Yeah, you're not a Star Wars fan if that's how you act. You like movies from the 80s. But whether you like the movie or not, that's not what this is about. We are here purely to talk about the toys. I shouldn't have to make that kind of disclaimer, but the fandom menace is everywhere. So, I went through everything that I could find online, whether it was the store exclusives or figure multi-packs, all the mainline figures, and I came up with 21 unique entries to put on this list. So some figures were released as deluxes with like a base and their rubber skirts and capes changed out for soft goods. I've elected to make those two separate entries, but things like Snoke, he came with the throne or without the throne. I didn't think the throne made a huge enough difference. Ultimately, however you want to display Snoke will affect which one you buy there. So I ended up lumping that one together. So with those rules in mind, I came up with 21 unique entries. Let's go ahead and start on my list. Entirely subjective, entirely my opinion, but let's go. Let's get into it with number 21. In spot number 21 is the Deluxe Rey on Crate. This is one of those figures where they took a mainline figure, swapped out some of the rubber parts for soft goods, and it really just doesn't work on Rey. She comes with some really cool accessories. The crate diorama with like the engine buried in the red sand or the red salt. Very, very cool. These came with die-cast accessories, so she has a metal pistol and a metal lightsaber hilt. Insanely cool little throw-ins, but when the figure looks as bad as the figure does, and it's not a head sculpt thing, it's pre-photoreal, but it's a good head sculpt for a painted one, the soft goods for her entire outfit are just so poofy and baggy and don't quite lay right, and ultimately it's just a bad representation of the character, so I had to put her all the way down in spot number 21. That said, let's keep going. We have some good figures yet to come. In spot number 20 is the First Order Executioner Stormtrooper, and aesthetically, it's a design I kind of like. I like the laser axe, I like the black squared off portions on the armor. I think it's a cool design. It really just suffers from being that First Order Stormtrooper sculpt with the terrible elbows and just the clunky articulation, and, other than that, the axe has a very, very skinny handle. When you leave him posed up with it for a long time on the shelf, it does start to bow under its own weight. That is unfortunate. There's just some QC things ultimately that affect all of them, so I have to call it out. It's unfortunate because I do like the design a lot. In spot number 19 is the First Order Stormtrooper with Stormtrooper gear. This was an Amazon exclusive, and it was a First Order Stormtrooper with every accessory that we had seen him use so far, whether it was the harness with the pouches or the heavy cannon with the tripod. There was a removable pouch for that harness. There were binoculars. There was a lot of really cool stuff packed in with this figure, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it was just that First Order Stormtrooper sculpt with the bad articulation, and it doesn't really matter how many accessories you gave that guy. He just didn't really have the articulation to use them well. So it was nice getting a variety. I'd wanted the one wearing the harness on the shelf for a while, but it just didn't do it for me in the long run. In spot number 18 is the Elite Praetorian Guard with the heavy blade. This was an Amazon exclusive back in the day. It was a variant of the Praetorian Guard with the underbite style helmet, and he came with the sword that broke into a whip, but only in sword mode, and he came with a long, like, spear blade. It was a long, long handle with a blade on the end. And honestly, I just didn't really care for these weapons ultimately. The long, long blade was there, but like it's just not my favorite of the Praetorians ultimately. I like the other designs a little bit more. This one's ultimately about aesthetics. The Praetorian Guard sculpt was a design that worked good in the movie, but was never going to be good on action figures, with the stacked ringlets of armor going all the way up the arms. It would work fine with a person in it, as we saw in the costumes, but in action figure terms, it was just a little bit hindering ultimately, and just a little bit awkward. I think Hasbro would probably do better with it today, but the Hasbro team of 2017 just wasn't up for the task of this base body as well. So, yeah, it's a little frustrating. In spot number 17 is the Elite Praetorian Guard with the double blade. This came in a 4-pack, the Guardians of Evil, where it was royal guards throughout the eras of Star Wars. And this is the Praetorian Guard with, like, the hat brim over his eyes, and then he came with, like, the double-bladed spear thing that broke into, like, 2 short spear things. And the unique thing about this Praetorian Guard is he has a soft goods skirt, so it actually frees up a lot of the articulation below the waist. However, the Praetorian Guard's problem really wasn't the rubber skirt. I just like soft goods more than rubber skirts. The rubber skirts on the others have a lot of cuts in it for articulation. Ultimately, it's really the arms on these guys that ultimately frustrate me. In spot number 16 is the Elite Praetorian Guard that came out in the main line. So this is the kind of more rounded front helmet, and he comes with a spear that is a shorter handle than the other spear, with a longer blade on the end. And this guy was really easy to find back in the day. He was a little bit of a peg warmer. And ultimately, I just like this helmet and this weapon more than the other Praetorians we ultimately got. He still suffers from the same things the others do, where it's just the really awkward arm articulation. Again, I think Hasbro would do a better job these days if they came back to try it again, but they're not brave enough after no one showed up for the toys for these movies. Spot number 15 is the First Order Officer. He came in a 2-pack with Admiral Akbar, and ultimately it was just them having another opportunity to use the officer body that they made for Finn way further up the list. It's not a bad base body, it's just a little bit of an ultimately boring figure. There's nothing wrong with it. It has a very generic likeness. This is almost a likeness that you could army build and not even pretend they're clones. It's just the most generic bald white dude, with a removable hat. It's a perfectly fine figure. There's just things that are way more exciting, but he has good enough articulation for the era, and there's really nothing wrong with him. So I had to put the ones that I was frustrated with lower than him, even though, again, he's kind of just aesthetically boring. In spot number 14 is Kylo Ren as he came out in the main line, and ultimately this Kylo Ren figure really frustrated me. He actually has pretty good articulation, and considering he's pre-photoreal, the painted face is not the worst in the world of painted Black Series faces. But they made this really good figure, and then they bury him in this ginormous rubber traffic cone of a cape that just really murders his articulation. It exclusively sits in a wrapped around his shoulders, running straight down position. There's no way to really get him into any kind of great lightsaber poses without just taking it off, and it's really just something that should have never been done in rubber and only been offered in soft goods in the first place. So because of that, it's a frustrating figure. I have to put it down the list. In spot number 13 is Captain Poe Dameron. This is another case of Hasbro doing the incredibly handsome Oscar Isaac very dirty. From the neck down, I think that this is a perfectly fine figure from the era. Again, 2017, you got some double pin knees going on. But it had pretty good articulation, and it really nailed the look of Poe's outfit. And the face, I will say, is better than the Force Awakens offerings of Poe. But it's not a good paint application on the face. The sculpt is not bad. I have seen people on Instagram take this sculpt and repaint it, and it actually has a pretty okay Oscar Isaac likeness. It's just the globby Hasbro face paint that some figures got a really bad job of and some got an alright job of. Poe here just did not get treated very well. But objectively, as far as the bones of the figure, there's good bones here. In spot number 12 is DJ as seen on Canto Bight. Now, while DJ is ultimately a bit of a nothing burger of a character, he was really more of a plot device for the second act. This was one of the first figures to get photoreal. It's just where he fell on the timeline. They did a great job recreating his outfit from the movie. It's just like who wants a DJ on the shelf? You know, he's not exciting in any way, but looking at the effort put into the figure, I cannot deny that it is a very good action figure of the time, which is why he has to be so high up this list. You know, it's just kind of like a what happened here, and it makes you wish that the rest of the Last Jedi figures got this effort put into it. So yeah, I mean, while ultimately it's like not exciting, it's still really good. In spot number 11 is Vice Admiral Holdo. Now, she has a really nice photoreal likeness to her. They did a really good job with that Laura Dern likeness. And then, as far as the rest of the figure, she has that combination of soft goods for her dress with sculpted sleeves, and it really frees up her articulation a lot. And considering her entire outfit is soft goods, they did a pretty good job of using a material that's a little bit clingier. It wasn't a figure-hugging dress, but this soft goods in 1/12 isn't poofy, it's not billowy. It actually was a really nice application of the material for what's seen on screen. She comes with a really nice blaster pistol. Whether you like her or hate her, you know, I think Holdo's okay. I think that this was objectively a really well done action figure, and one that I think is greatly benefited by having the photoreal, at least. In spot number 10 is Resistance Tech Rose. I gotta be honest, for a painted face, they actually did pretty okay on this one, ultimately, and I really like the sculpt here. You know, Rose's outfit, you know, she was in maintenance. It was a baggy, like, mustard yellow jumpsuit, but they did a really nice job with it. It's sculpted very well. It has good articulation. She comes with that little taser she threatened Finn with. She comes with a just generic resistance rifle because you got to give her something more than just a taser. And yeah, grand scheme of things, you know, it's a good representation of what's seen on screen. I do like the character, and I think considering the era that it came out, I think this is a perfectly fine figure for the time. In spot number 9 is the deluxe Luke Skywalker with the added soft goods. So he comes with a little piece of Octo for a base. That's really, really cool. And then he comes with a die-cast cybernetic hand, which I guess is cool considering that the mainline figure didn't come with anything. So they were like, we got to give him something because die-cast was the gimmick of these. You know, it would be weird to put accessories in that hand because a lot of the Black Series hands kind of have to like pry open the rubbery hand to stick the thing in. So that's bizarre. But ultimately, this Luke has the soft goods cloak, which the main line has, and then they swapped out some of his like tunic and parts of his skirt for soft goods. And I just don't like the application here as much as I like the mainline one, hence why I haven't talked about that yet. It features the same likeness, you know, I like the base, but I'm trying to talk more about the figure objectively. And yeah, I think just ultimately I like the other one a little bit more. This is not a terrible attempt, though. In spot number 8 is the mainline Luke Skywalker Jedi Master. I was a little wishy-washy on the deluxe one, so, you know, you knew it was coming close. But, yeah, this Luke Skywalker, I remember when it came out being frustrated that he didn't come with any accessory, because, you know, he's being offered the lightsaber and the cliffhanger from The Force Awakens. This figure was out before the movie came out, of course. You know, so it was like, man, where's the lightsaber? Where's his green lightsaber? Why doesn't he come with anything? And ultimately, afterwards, after seeing the movie, I'm like, yeah, he doesn't really need anything. It doesn't bother me that he doesn't come with anything. You know, and ultimately, he's one of the few figures that I'm okay with posing on the shelf empty-handed. He was one of the first figures in the line to come with no accessories. There might have been one or two before, but, you know, it was a weird thing at the time. But I think objectively the articulation is fine. It's aged well enough. The double pin knees will never not scream 2017. But the likeness would really, really be something I'd like to see upgraded. I would be okay if this figure got the archive treatment, to be 100%. In spot number 7 is Finn in the First Order Officer Disguise. This is a fun figure. I always like figures of our heroes in disguise, you know, wearing bad guy clothes. And this Finn turned out really good. You know, the painted faces of the era, there weren't a lot of good ones, but John Boyega, I really feel, was treated fairly well by the painted faces. Of course, photoreal would look better, but I don't hate, like, the two Force Awakens fins that we got, and I don't hate the likeness on this either. Again, could be better with photoreal, but it's got a decent enough likeness for the technology used. The body features good articulation for a guy in an officer outfit. The pistol's nice. I really like that he comes with the riot baton. It's just a good figure. It's a good representation of him undercover in the base. Ultimately, it makes me wish that we had gotten a female officer body somewhere along the way for them to have then released a Rose version, or to make it easier for customs. It's a little frustrating that we never got the female body ultimately in this outfit, because it makes me want to Officer Rose a lot too. In spot number 6 is Captain Phasma with the Quicksilver baton, and while not mentioned in the title of the figure, she's also battle damaged. This Captain Phasma is reuse of the Force Awakens Phasma, which is limited similarly to the Stormtrooper, but not as bad. Something that I didn't like about the Force Awakens offering was the big rubber cape that really made it so you could only put her in like one or two like very neutral looking poses. They've swapped that out for a soft goods cape. What a drastic improvement. And then she comes with her expanding baton that she battles Finn in the officer disguise in. It comes with a short version and a long version, and then she comes with this awesome head where the eye in her helmet is knocked out like it was in the fight, and you see a little bit of photoreal Gwendolyn Christie in there, because it was during photoreal time. They were able to actually like get the eye that was exposed to look really, really good. This is, in my opinion, one of the best First Order figures overall in the line, even though it's extremely scene-specific, but just a very cool figure. One that I am happy that, even though it was very brief, made the cut in the line. In spot number 5 is Admiral Akbar, again from that 2-pack with the First Order officer. Admiral Akbar from Last Jedi was a figure that I was ultimately like, really? Wow, when he got announced, because it was a little bit of a deep cut. He wasn't in the movie long, rest in peace. But this is just a case of it being a really good alien figure. The Black Series, even from day one, has done really well on their alien sculpts. And I remember when it came out, people were like, where's the Return of the Jedi one? We all knew it was going to come. Yeah, it took 3 years after this, but it was coming. They were never going to skip that. But this is him as he appears in the first 2 of the sequel trilogy, and it's got a really good likeness to him. I like the head. It has an opening mouth gimmick. I like the forearms. Like, they did a really, really good job on all of the very crustacean Admiral Akbar parts, and then the officer outfit that he's wearing. It's just a very well done figure. Again, it's like niche, semi-niche, but like just... It's a good figure. I have nothing wrong with it. I love it. In spot number 4 is Supreme Leader Snoke. As I mentioned on the intro, I'm going to lump in the Throne version and the mainline version here. So I own the Throne version. It's the same figure. There's no difference in accessories beyond the Throne. The Throne is like a big empty plastic chair, hollow. And in my opinion, the Throne makes the scene. I don't need the Snoke up and doing stuff, but I know for space, some people would rather have the single-packed version, and I gotta say, much like Admiral Akbar, the figure itself is beautiful. Black Series has always done good on the alien, the unique head sculpts, and even though Snoke is humanoid before whatever happened to him, they did a really, really good job, even for pre-photoreal, just making him look as grotesque and deformed as he did in the movie. And then, for me, I want him sitting on the chair, but if you just want a Snoke for the shelf, you could get the single pack too. They're both cheap at this point. But, I think the chair personally sells it for me, but I'm kind of more talking about the figure. In spot number 3 is Rey in her Jedi training outfit. This is her, sand blue outfit that she is wearing from the battle on Snoke's Star Destroyer all the way through the end of the Battle of Crate. It is the outfit that they marketed the movie around her in, and I really like it. Now, this figure came out during the pre-photoreal time, very shortly before photoreal, and as far as painted faces go, They did not do a terrible job. They did revise it with photoreal for a Galaxy's Edge 4-pack way later on, but that's Galaxy's Edge and not Last Jedi, unfortunately. But there is a better version, and I recommend you buy that one. But as far as figures from 2017, the only thing that's really dated about this is the double pin knees. She has really good arm articulation. It's pre-butterflies, but she kind of doesn't need them. She's just really fun to pose. They did a really good job on this one, and ultimately, like I said, pick up that Galaxy's Edge one. They could just archive this figure, and it would be fine. It doesn't need a redo for it to not be bad on the shelf today. In spot number 2 is the Deluxe Kylo Ren offering. There's been a couple others on the list. It's where they changed out some of the rubber for the soft goods. All of my issues with the Kylo Ren figure ultimately came from that big rubber cape, and this version comes with a soft goods cape. It frees him up for so many awesome poses. I also think, even though it's still a painted face, the likeness on this face is a little bit better. And then he comes with a really cool gimmicky, again, they all had the die cast. He comes with a die cast version of his lightsaber hilt, which is cool, and he comes with a die cast version of his helmet, which, while destroyed early in the movie, sure, I'll take another accessory, why not? Also, something cool about this, not really the reason to buy the figure, but still nice, is he comes with a section of flooring that mates up to the throne of the Deluxe Snoke, and it really just makes them a very complimentary pair of sets to put together. And yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you have Kylo near Snoke on your shelf? You know, that's kind of like his role in the earlier movies. Spot number 1, in my opinion, the best Last Jedi figure is Island Journey Rey. This figure was from one of the first waves to feature photoreal. It is Rey's outfit that we see her go to Ahch-To in the end of The Force Awakens, and then she wears it while trying to convince Luke to train her on Ahch-To for the first act of the movie. It is an iconic outfit. It comes with all the accessories you could ever want, with the lightsaber, the blaster, the staff, a soft goods poncho. Really, really good stuff. And that Daisy Ridley likeness is so insanely good. I have not a bad thing to say at all about this Rey. This is like my favorite Rey in the line, objectively. I really love this one. It is an excellent figure. It's got the double pin knees that kind of date it to back in the day, but, you know, I would buy a redo if they did it. I'm not asking for it. I think it's fine for the time. So that is my ranking of all of the Last Jedi figures. I'm sure no one made it here because you only needed 10 seconds to leave an angry comment about how you don't like the movie and ignore the fact that I'm talking about the figures. That's A-okay, as long as it's interaction. It boosts me on the algorithm anyway, right? But that's my thoughts. What do you think? Am I anywhere near right? Am I way off the mark? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. The fun thing about this list is, you know, we haven't really gotten a lot of Last Jedi love since the marketing push of the movie back in 2017. So, like, all of these figures are from mid-2017 to mid-2018, and then early 2018 was when that photoreal change happened. So, like, it's really... It's not a case of, like, some of my other lists where it's like, they made all the figures for the movie, and then a couple years later they revised one or changed one or gave us a new one that's so much better than the technology of 5 or 6 years ago. They've never gone back to Last Jedi. So these figures are actually all on fairly even ground here. So it was a little bit of a challenge in some cases, but it was a fun video to make. So I hope you had fun watching. I look forward to talking to you next week on next week's figure ranking. Keep an eye out. Videos every day here at Hybrid Toy Reviews this year. So I will catch you tomorrow. May the Force be with you, and I hope you all continue to have a great day. Bye.